Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. I got an interesting notification from the AARP earlier this week. They're releasing a new book. It's coming out in a few weeks. It's called Disrupting Aging, and it's by the AARP CEO, Joanne Jenkins. One of the phrases that they used in their marketing material caught my eye, and I'll read it to you here. She encourages us to rethink the negative stories we tell ourselves and each other about aging. This actually got my attention big time, and I've pre-ordered the book. Full disclosure, I haven't read it. They haven't given me any kind of a pre-order or a pre-release copy. But that alone spoke to me. And the reason it spoke to me is because it's something that I see and I hear every day. Absolutely every day. We tell ourselves negative stories about our age all the time. It's unfortunate, but it's very, very true. What's partly frustrating about it is that there are, of course, lots of negative messages that come from, I'll just call it the world at large. American culture in particular seems to place an undue value on youth when compared to age. The messages from the world, they're not bad enough, right? We then end up having to either build on that or amplify that by basically echoing or building on these same negative messages with negative messages of our own. And this is especially true about technology, and that's why I'm talking about it today here. One of the most frustrating things I hear in questions or on comments that are left for me are phrases of the form, "I'm too old to get this." To which my reaction is typically, you never hear it, you never see it, but my reaction is typically, bull. I mean, that's simply not true. You may not be interested in something, not everybody is, but age, whatever your age might be, is not an excuse to walk away from technology or to cast blame at technology or whatever it is that you're struggling with. It simply isn't. I see that excuse used all the time. All the time. Like I said, in questions, in comments. It's really pretty frustrating, actually, when you're sitting in my chair to see that constant negativity. And I don't necessarily mean negativity that I take personally because I happen to be old by somebody's definition, but the negativity I see people throwing at themselves. They feel less worthy or less capable of what they're able to do because they consider themselves to be old. And yes, often I will see exactly those words in a question. I'm old. And again, my reaction is bull. It's simply, it's irrelevant. The best way I can put it is that your age for something like that is irrelevant. People often include their ages as some kind of an apology or excuse or something to, I don't know, maybe hide behind, to apologize for not necessarily catching on to something as quickly as they feel they should be able to. There's this perception that young people or younger people get things way more quickly than those past a certain age. And while in some cases it's kind of true, in some cases it just doesn't matter. It too is irrelevant. It's not a limitation. Age is not a limitation. It's not an excuse. Now, to be clear, there absolutely are, I'll call them, issues. Like I said, one of the things that is probably common as we age is that things slow down. Our ability to I don't want to necessarily say think, but our ability to just do things at speed decreases. But that doesn't mean we're not capable. It doesn't mean we become unable to do things. It simply means we do them maybe at a slightly slower pace. You can still do it. It just takes a little longer. There's nothing at all wrong with that. Other comments that I get that typically people attribute to age have nothing to do really with age at all. For example, one of the current hot design trends on websites is to use something other than black on color or some kind of pastel text or something, like I said, something other than a high contrast, nice black and white for the text that is placed on websites. That's hard to read for some people. In fact, especially since it varies a lot depending on the capabilities of your display device, it could be really hard for some people to read, to see that text. It's one of the reasons that I actually try and do pure black on white. But that's not an issue of age. That's an issue of eyesight. And it's an issue that crosses all ages. I hear it from all sorts of people, young and old. The same thing is true for, I'll say, motor skills. Touchpads, for example, are a non-starter for a certain type of person who maybe has fine motor skill issues. Typing on, a tiny flat screen cell phone, for example, is just not something that they're able to do because maybe they have essential tremor, maybe they don't have the ability to, use the fine motor skills that are kind of required to hit some of those teeny tiny icons on that flat screen. Again, this isn't age specific. It's actually more common across ages than most people understand. It's an issue. Speaking of which, technical gobbledygook, as I like to call it. The fact is, if you don't understand something, it's not because of your age. It's because of the writer or whomever's poor ability to communicate something. Trust me when I say people of all ages have trouble understanding technical gobbledygook. They just do. It's not because you're older. It's not because you're younger. It's just because the people who are creating that information do a poor job. Well, like I've said in other venues, I think one of the jobs that I kind of sort of see myself as performing is acting as a translator, turning some of that technical gobbledygook into English, into something that people can understand. And that, again, transcends all age groups. Reaching a certain age, you'll notice I've not mentioned any ages. Reaching a certain age, whatever age you care to pick, doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really get in the way of your ability to do things. And when you do it to yourself, when you make the assumption that you're too old for something, you've lost the war before the battle's even begun. You've surrendered without even trying. And like I said, that's one of the reasons that this is such a passionate issue for me. This is something that I care deeply about because I don't believe it. I don't agree with it. I think that you're selling yourself short every time you say the phrase or think the phrase, I'm too old. Because you're not. I know of octogenarians and nonagenarians that are having the time of their lives with technology. Well, it clearly wasn't their age that got in the way. Nothing's getting in the way, and that's the point. Nothing has to get in the way. It's all about your ability, your openness, your willingness to take on what technology has for you. Now, I've talked about this kind of thing before, and every time I do that, one of the reactions I get is, you just wait until you're older, buddy. Well, okay, to begin with, I'm 58. So for some people, I'm old. I know for some people I'm not, but for a lot of people, that is enough to be old. And if you took a look around at what I do and how I live my life and the technology that I embrace, you'll notice that age is not an issue. It just isn't. But more than that, I honestly don't believe it ever will be. Short of some kind of physical or actual mental disability as I get older, I expect to be doing something a lot like what I'm doing until the day I die. And I don't think that that's an unfair assumption for just about anybody to make. I think that we all have the ability to keep learning, to keep doing, to keep growing, to keep enjoying whatever our passions might be. And I don't think that learning especially when it comes to technology, needs to get in the way of that at all. Like I said earlier, it might need to take a little bit more time, but that's okay. I don't read as fast as I used to, but you know what? It's not getting in my way. So you've accomplished a lot already. You have. And I think that every time you believe you've reached a point where you can't accomplish as much as you did in the past, you're really selling yourself short. Like I said, this is something I feel passionate about. Stop using your age, whatever your age is, as an excuse. There's a whole world of possibilities that you're really selling yourself short on. You're stepping away from every time you make that kind of assumption, every time you have that kind of internal dialogue with yourself. You're not. You're not too old to do this. And I really, in case it's not clear, I really want you to stop thinking that, because it's bull. So go ahead, have at me. What do you think? If you're watching this anywhere but on AskLeo.com by now, hopefully you know the drill. Go visit this URL. That's where the video will be posted. That's where we'll have a full transcript in black and white, high contrast, easy to read. And of course, our moderated comments, so we can deal with honest and open discussion without fear of trolls and whatever. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear it. Take care, everyone. I'll talk to you again next week. In the meantime, as always, stay safe, have fun, and of course, don't forget to back up. Take care.